Right now, deep in the California desert, there may be an aircraft capable of flying from New York to Los Angeles in just 12 minutes, faster than any jet in existence, faster than any missile, faster than most people's morning commute. Its name is the SR-72 DARKSTAR, and it's not just fast, it's real. The SR-72 DARKSTAR is more than just a new aircraft. It's the spiritual and technological successor to one of the most iconic machines ever to take to the skies, the legendary SR-71 Blackbird. Where the Blackbird once pushed the boundaries of what was thought possible, the DARKSTAR threatens to shatter them entirely. It's not just the next chapter in high-speed aviation, it's the next leap in aerospace evolution. And while official channels remain silent and government agencies dodge direct questions, something unusual is happening behind closed doors. At the heart of it all is Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works, the same top-secret division that birthed the Blackbird decades ago. Known for doing the impossible in record time, they now appear to be working on something even more advanced. Something that, if the rumors are true, could redefine the very meaning of air dominance in the 21st century. They call it DARKSTAR, and depending on who you ask, it may have already left the ground. To understand just how bold this project is, we need to rewind to the 1960s, a time when tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union were at a boiling point. Out of that pressure came the SR-71 Blackbird, a plane that didn't just fly faster than anything else, it escaped history itself. Mach 3.2, that's more than 2,200 miles per hour. Flying at 85,000 feet, the Blackbird cruised so high and so fast that it made surface-to-air missiles useless. Over its operational lifetime, more than 4,000 missiles were fired at SR-71s. Not a single one found its target. Not one. And why? Because the Blackbird's strategy was brilliantly simple. Just fly faster than anything trying to kill you. It wasn't invisible. It didn't jam radars. It outran the threat every time. It was a masterpiece of engineering from a pre-digital era, built before modern computing, before simulation software, before composite materials. And yet, more than half a century later, nothing publicly acknowledged has surpassed it. Designed by Kelly Johnson and the original Skunk Works team, the Blackbird was a masterpiece, built before modern computing, before 3D modeling, before materials science had even caught up. Its titanium skin expanded in flight, its fuel tanks leaked on the runway and sealed only when the airframe was hot enough. And yet, decades later, nothing has officially surpassed it. Until now. In 2013, the world got its first real hint that something extraordinary was happening behind closed hangar doors. Aviation Week broke the story. Lockheed Martin was officially working on a successor to the SR-71. But this wasn't just a modernized version of the Blackbird. This was something entirely new, an aircraft that wouldn't stop at Mach 3 or even Mach 4. This next-generation jet had its sights set on Mach 6, an astonishing 4,600 miles per hour. That's nearly twice as fast as its Cold War-era predecessor, pushing the limits of what air-breathing flight can even achieve. What Lockheed was developing wasn't just a high-speed reconnaissance plane. The SR-72 would carry dual capabilities, intelligence gathering and precision strike. It wasn't designed to simply observe the battlefield from the edge of space. It was meant to be able to enter the fight, launch a weapon, and vanish before anyone even realized it had arrived. This was no longer about collecting data. It was about delivering decisive action at hypersonic speed. At Mach 6, geography starts to lose meaning. The SR-72 could cross the entire continental United States in under 15 minutes, from Washington, D.C. to Beijing in less than 2 hours. It could show up anywhere in the world and be gone again before radar operators even finish blinking. And that speed is more than just a flex of engineering. In today's military landscape, it represents a powerful form of defensive stealth. The world's most advanced radar systems, from Russia's S-500s to China's long-range tracking networks, are built to counter stealth technology. They're improving every year, but no matter how powerful the radar, it can't track what has already disappeared over the horizon. Speed at this level becomes the ultimate cloak, and that's exactly where the SR-72 enters the picture. But designing something that flies at Mach 6 isn't just about raw velocity. It means confronting and solving one of the most difficult engineering puzzles in the history of flight: how to power an aircraft through 6 times the speed of sound using air alone. And that means solving the unsolved problem of hypersonic propulsion. Traditional jet engines, no matter how advanced, simply can't survive at hypersonic speeds. At Mach 5 or Mach 6, the air entering the front of the engine is moving so fast that it becomes superheated and violently compressed. Temperatures soar to the point where the air can no longer be safely processed. Instead of powering the aircraft forward, it begins to destroy it from within. The turbine blades, the very heart of a jet engine, would melt, warp, or disintegrate under such conditions. No amount of traditional engineering can fix that. The physics just don't allow it. Now flip to the other extreme. Scramjets, supersonic combustion ramjets, are designed specifically for hypersonic speeds. They thrive in conditions where air is rushing into the engine at thousands of miles per hour. With no rotating parts and no turbines, they use the aircraft's own speed to compress the air for combustion. But there's a catch. Scramjets can't work at low speeds. In fact, they can't even ignite unless the aircraft is already traveling at Mach 4 or higher. That means they can't help with takeoff, or landing, or even acceleration from a standstill. They're built to go fast, but only once you're already fast. So how do you connect the two? How do you build an aircraft that can take off from a runway like a normal jet, but then climb, accelerate, and tear across the atmosphere at speeds that melt steel? You build a turbine-based combined cycle engine, a TBCC, and it might be the most revolutionary propulsion system of our time. Here's how it works. The aircraft starts on the runway using a traditional turbine engine, just like a fighter jet. It taxis, takes off, and climbs through subsonic and transonic speeds. Everything feels familiar, but as the aircraft punches through Mach 2, then Mach 3, the real magic begins. Inside the engine, a complex series of ducts and valves begins shifting. Airflow is rerouted. The turbine is gradually phased out. And then, at just the right moment, somewhere above Mach 3.5, the scramjet lights up. In that instant, the plane becomes something else entirely. The turbine shuts down. The scramjet takes over. Fuel ignites in supersonic airflow, and the aircraft surges forward. No longer a jet, but a hypersonic weapon riding its own shockwave. And thanks to that combined system, the transition is smooth, seamless, controlled. It's one of the hardest problems in aerospace engineering. And in 2017, Lockheed Martin made a stunning announcement. They had solved it. After years of classified research, the engineers at Skunk Works confirmed they had successfully demonstrated the turbine to scramjet transition, the holy grail of sustained hypersonic flight. But solving propulsion was just one part of the equation, because when you travel at Mach 6, your next biggest enemy isn't radar, it isn't missiles, it's something more primal, it's heat. At those speeds, the air in front of the aircraft can't get out of the way fast enough. It slams into the airframe, compresses violently, and creates temperatures high enough to melt conventional metals. Even titanium, the material that made the SR-71 Blackbird possible, begins to fail. And that's why Lockheed Martin turned to something even more exotic: carbon-carbon composites, a material strong enough to survive the fury of hypersonic flight, a material tough enough to handle thousands of degrees of heat, the same kind of ultra-advanced ceramic composite used to protect space shuttles during atmospheric re-entry, because when you're flying through the edge of physics, only the most extreme materials will do. These aren't just high-grade alloys or heat-resistant paints. The SR-72 uses the same materials that protected the space shuttle during its fiery re-entry into Earth's atmosphere. Materials specifically engineered to withstand thousands of degrees of heat without cracking, melting, or losing structural integrity. Carbon-carbon composites, lightweight, ultra-durable, and nearly immune to thermal stress. When every square inch of your airframe is exposed to hypersonic compression and friction, it's not just helpful to have these materials, it's absolutely essential. But even with cutting-edge composites, the heat generated at Mach 6 is relentless. So Lockheed Martin added another line of defense: the fuel itself. The SR-72 is expected to use JP7, a special high flashpoint fuel developed during the SR-71 program. But in this aircraft, the fuel doesn't just power the engine. It serves as a coolant. Before being burned, it flows through an intricate network of channels embedded in the aircraft's skin, soaking up heat from the leading edges, the engine inlets, and the surrounding structures. Think of it like a liquid armor, quietly carrying excess heat away from the hottest zones of the aircraft and into the combustion chamber. It's a thermodynamic loop that helps keep the entire vehicle alive at speeds that would incinerate conventional jets in seconds. Every component on the SR-72, Every bolt, sensor, wire, and rivet must be built to survive an environment that most engineers wouldn't even test for. And yet Lockheed says it's not only feasible, it's already underway. Somewhere behind classified walls and under tight security, this aircraft is being assembled. But that leads to one major question: who's flying it? And here, the SR-72 breaks with tradition yet again. Unlike the SR-71, which relied on some of the most elite pilots ever trained, the SR-72 is being designed from the ground up as an unmanned aircraft. That's right, no pilot on board. Why? Because at Mach 6, the human body becomes a liability. Pilots must be protected from crushing G-forces, given breathable air, provided pressurized cockpits, ejection systems, and backup redundancies. All of that adds weight, complexity, and risk. But more importantly, a human brain simply can't react fast enough to make critical decisions at hypersonic speed. When you're traveling a mile every second, delays measured in milliseconds can be fatal. So instead of relying on human reflexes, the SR-72 is expected to fly autonomously, not remotely controlled like a drone, but smart, capable of executing complex flight paths, adjusting to threats, and making in-mission decisions on its own, based on pre-programmed objectives and real-time sensor input. It's not just unmanned, it's intelligent. That said, Lockheed hasn't ruled out human involvement entirely. According to early reports, the aircraft may be optionally piloted. That means in some cases, especially during test flights or certain strategic missions, a trained pilot could still climb aboard and fly the DARKSTAR manually. The controls and life support systems would be there if needed. And that option gives the Air Force something valuable: flexibility, autonomy when possible, human decision-making when necessary. In the ever-changing landscape of 21st century warfare, the SR-72 is built to deliver both. Now let's talk mission. The SR-72 isn't just fast, it isn't just stealthy, it's strategically designed to accomplish missions that satellites, drones, and conventional aircraft simply can't. It's not a replacement for those systems, it's an entirely new category of capability, and it changes what's possible on the battlefield. Let's break it down. First, real-time intelligence. Satellites are powerful tools. They orbit the Earth, capturing high-resolution imagery from above. But here's the problem: they're predictable. Their orbital paths are known by us and by our adversaries. That means enemies can plan around them, hiding sensitive operations or relocating assets before the satellite passes overhead. But the SR-72, it doesn't follow an orbit. It doesn't give advance warning. It can be deployed from halfway around the world and appear over a target in under an hour. It delivers on-demand intelligence not based on celestial mechanics, but based on mission need. And it doesn't just take snapshots. It can collect data, intercept signals, and relay information in real time, all without warning. You never see it coming. Second, time-sensitive targeting. In modern warfare, the window to strike a high-value target can be incredibly short. A mobile missile launcher, a command vehicle, or an enemy convoy might be in place for just a few minutes before relocating or disappearing. By the time a traditional aircraft is airborne or a satellite realigns, the opportunity is gone. But the SR-72 flying at Mach 6 turns that problem upside down. It can reach any theater of operation with unmatched speed, scan for targets with onboard sensors, and engage threats in real time. It doesn't just observe, it can track, target, and strike before an enemy has time to move. In military terms, it compresses the kill chain from hours to minutes or less. Third, hypersonic missile delivery. The SR-72 isn't just a reconnaissance aircraft, it's a weapons platform. Lockheed Martin has publicly referenced the High-Speed Strike Weapon, or HSSW, a hypersonic missile that could be deployed directly from the SR-72 at extreme altitudes and speeds. Think about that. You already have a jet traveling at Mach 6. Now picture it launching a missile that accelerates to even higher speeds. That's layered velocity, with a kinetic force so devastating it doesn't need a massive warhead to do damage. And today, there is no known air defense system that can intercept a projectile like that. Not in Russia, not in China, not anywhere. But beyond all the technology and firepower, there's something else the SR-72 brings to the table. Something you can't quantify on a spec sheet: psychological dominance. During the Cold War, the very existence of the SR-71 Blackbird sent a message. It said to the world, "We can see you, and you can't stop us." That presence alone was a form of deterrence. Enemies knew that the US could penetrate their airspace at will, and there was nothing they could do about it. The SR-72 takes that same psychological effect and amplifies it for a new era. Not only can it fly faster, not only can it strike targets, but it does so without ever being detected in time to respond. It creates a strategic uncertainty in the minds of adversaries. A constant question: are we being watched right now? Indeed, no, and when you introduce that level of uncertainty into enemy planning, it changes everything. It shapes decisions, delays actions, forces caution, and in many cases, that alone can win the battle before the first missile ever leaves the rail. So, is it real? Back in 2018, Lockheed Martin made a quiet but bold statement. They believed that a flight-capable SR-72 demonstrator could take to the skies by 2025. At the time, it sounded like a distant possibility, a distant promise from deep inside Skunk Works. But now, we're here. It's 2025, and while no official photos, test footage, or press conferences have confirmed a flight, the trail of evidence tells a far more intriguing story. Let's start with infrastructure. Lockheed didn't just expand its existing facilities, they built an entirely new state-of-the-art complex. Building 648 at Skunk Works headquarters in Palmdale, California, a massive installation tailored for advanced aerospace prototyping, digital engineering, and production. You don't build something like that for hypotheticals, you build it to manufacture something real. Then there's the money. Since 2022, Lockheed Martin has reported over $335 million in classified program overruns tied to their aeronautics division. Those aren't trivial numbers. That kind of spending doesn't happen unless something substantial is under development. Simultaneously, their hypersonic workforce has more than doubled. Thousands of engineers, technicians, and aerospace specialists have quietly joined the program, and none of it has been directly acknowledged. In interviews and investor calls, Lockheed executives are asked, "Is the SR-72 real?" Their response? Always the same. "We're working on advanced hypersonic technologies." They never confirm, but they never deny. And in the world of classified defense programs, silence speaks volumes. Then came the cultural moment, Top Gun: Maverick. In its opening act, we're introduced to a fictional jet called DARKSTAR, sleek, angular, hypersonic, and unmistakably inspired by real Skunk Works designs. The aircraft wasn't just a CGI illusion, it was a full-scale physical mock-up, constructed with guidance and collaboration from Lockheed Martin's actual Skunk Works team. And here's what makes it truly surreal. When China's military intelligence saw the mock-up sitting on a US test range, they redirected satellites to capture images of it. That's how real it looked. That's how close to the edge of reality we've come. Shortly after, Lockheed published a cryptic but telling post. They reminded the public that the SR-71 Blackbird is still the fastest acknowledged air-breathing manned aircraft in the world. Acknowledged. That one word changes everything. It leaves the door wide open. It hints that what's really flying today may be faster, more advanced, and more classified than anyone outside Skunk Works can imagine. So ask yourself, does the SR-72 already exist? Has it already flown under the radar, literally and figuratively? Is it conducting test runs in the night sky while the world sleeps? All we know for sure is this: if it hasn't flown yet, it's coming soon. And it couldn't be arriving at a more critical time. The hypersonic arms race is no longer theoretical. It's happening right now. Russia and China are fielding operational hypersonic missiles, some maneuverable, some nuclear capable. These are one-time use weapons that are difficult to intercept, traveling at speeds above Mach 5. They threaten carrier strike groups, forward bases, and high-value targets. But while they focused on disposable missiles, America may have gone in a different direction. A reusable, autonomous, hypersonic aircraft that can launch, strike, return, and fly again. The SR-72 isn't just a plane, it's a signal, a warning, a message to the world that the United States doesn't follow in the footsteps of others. It sets the pace. It doesn't play catch-up, it leads. And in the battle space of tomorrow, in the invisible wars fought in the upper atmosphere, this aircraft might already be carving contrails so high and so fast that no one on Earth will even see it coming. If you found this deep dive fascinating, make sure to subscribe for more content on next-gen military technology. And drop a comment below. Do you think the SR-72 is already flying, or are we still waiting for the official reveal? One thing is clear, the DARKSTAR is no longer science fiction, it's just classified. For now. Thanks for watching, we'll see you in the next one.